States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody remain standing for a minute for just a little remembrance of our troops, all of our emergency personnel, and Nancy Critchley, who died since the last meeting, and Ann Aker. Ann Aker was a big part of our community. She did a lot of things in Belmar, so if you could just put those two people in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. April, do we have anything on for workshop tonight? I don't think we do. Nothing on? Okay. Are there any petitions for the mayor and council? All right, seeing none. Approval of minutes.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 19th, 2019 meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving right along, reports of council. Councilman Carvalho?
Yes. I have the Belmar Senior Luncheon I have here is at the Town Pavilion on Wednesday, March 13th, provided by Jack's Tavern. And they will be having a new sock drive. A donation of new socks would greatly be appreciated for those in need in our community. Other than that, I don't have anything, so that's my report for this week.
All right. Councilman McCracken?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Shade Tree Commission had its first meeting on Wednesday, February 27th at the Belmar Library. We approved one application and developed a list of things to do moving forward. One will be to investigate prices and draft an ordinance for plaques, uniform plaques throughout the town, and a system for people to be able to honor and remember somebody, as well as putting together a program for Arbor Day with both St. Rose and Belmar Elementary School at the end of April. We need volunteers. We have one appointment, as you can see in the resolutions, this evening to the commission, but we are actively seeking other folks who would like to be involved in a Shade Tree USA community, which Belmar is, and assist us with our programs with the Shade Tree. Additionally, the Belmar Housing Authority met last night at 5:15 at in the Housing Authority Community Room. Some concerns, the report of the Executive Director highlighted that the House of Representatives has approved a tentative HUD budget and that Congress is working through finalizing the budget moving forward. Obviously, we're expecting and experiencing some cold this week, so some instructions were given to the residents on how to keep the building warm. It was determined that the rugs in the lobby were a tripping hazard, the area rugs, so they're going to be pulled up and only put down when it rains or there's inclement weather. And the application was reviewed and has been revised for the Belmar Housing Authority, and that list is open for anybody who wants to get on there. They're having, or move in there, they're having a St. Patrick's Day for the residents, which everyone is looking forward to, and there were some complaints about smoking on the 6th floor, which is being addressed aggressively by administration.
Thank you. Councilwoman Wand is not feeling well tonight, so we wish her a speedy recovery. So, Council President Brandon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few things to talk about. Well, first, there was a Tourism Commission meeting last Wednesday. One of the main topics was how is it going as far as planning the Seafood Festival at the new site. I'm happy to relate to you all that the response from the vendors has been really outstanding. didn't seem like anyone had said, no, I don't want to come back because you moved. So we're looking for that. The only other thing we're waiting on is we're waiting on the New Jersey Department of Transportation to give us the okay that we can actually close 8th Avenue between Main and the railroad track, so we can use that as part of the footprint, but we're optimistic that that's going to happen. On February 21st, I attended at Taylor Pavilion. Belmar hosted the New Jersey Cultural Alliance for Response for a meeting. I got a notification about this because this group is involved. It's basically like artists, librarians, and data collection people. I was like, okay, it's a really interesting group of people. But the talk that they gave, for the two people that spoke, I thought was really outstanding, and I got some really good information that we can use. The two speakers were Joe Barris, who's the Assistant Director of the Monmouth County Planning Board. He's also the Director of their Disaster Planning and Recovery Team. And the main speaker was Lisa Armuller, who's an Assistant Manager of the Rutgers University Jacques Cousteau Coastal Education Center. Got nothing to do with Jacques Cousteau. It was just named for him because the congressman who got the money knew Jacques Cousteau. They're all the way down past Atlantic City. They're not in New Brunswick. They're all the way down there. The point of the meeting and the focus of the talks was basically for disaster response planning and keeping in mind climate change and the effects we're going to feel on the coast because of the rising level of water. The people that are involved in this group, I mean, a lot of people just think, okay, so we have to figure out what's going to happen to people's houses, we have to figure what are going to happen to the businesses, but they are also focused on other aspects of community that you need to consider when you're making your disaster plan. You need to think about your cultural assets, like the Belmar Historical Society. We all remember what happened to them when Sandy came. I mean, they had to deal with all their stuff getting wet because there was no real plan in place about what you're going to do with your stuff if something like that starts to happen. Any other kind of art, any other kind of things that keep the culture and the sense of community alive. At one point they were talking about how you have to even think about, you know, we've raised our houses. This really brought our situation with Route 35 home to me. People raise their houses and they assume that because their house is raised, everything's going to be fine. And they don't realize you got to raise the road too, because the water's going to cover the road. What good is a house if you can only drive to it at low tide, right? One of the things they recommended, and I'm going to talk to the mayor and to the borough administrator, we need to set up a meeting with our emergency management coordinator, Mr. Sinelli, and sit down and make a plan about all these different aspects. What will we do if this happens? What will we do if this other happens? And mainly what we're going to have to do when the next flooding event comes, because you know it's going to come. If we do that, we put together a plan, we submit it to the county. The county's collecting this for the state. This is an active project that the county is engaged in. That's the reason this fellow was there speaking. If we do that, we become eligible for FEMA money as far as mitigation and planning, so we don't have to pay for some of the stuff we would pay for ourselves. That's the big ticket. If you do the planning work, you become eligible for money. So we're going to move forward with that. I thought it was, I really didn't know what I was going to hear. I knew some of the people that were there, so I went. And this was absolutely eye-opening for me. A lot of it I knew, and a lot of it I didn't know yet. And it was really a good thing that I went, and I'm glad I stayed. I also went to the budgeting for elected officials seminar this past Saturday, given by the League of Municipalities. It was interesting. I mean, basically, you put together a budget, you figure out what you got, you figure out what you got to spend, make sure those things kind of work out. One of the things that they focused on as part of their discussion, which I found really interesting, we're all used to calling it state aid, state aid, state aid. That's not really state aid, right? That's our energy tax that has been going back over 100 years. The municipalities have been able to charge a tax to utilities. It started with telegraph and railroads because they used municipal property for their access. As time has gone on, the state took over that collections, they raised some of the rates, but instead of just guaranteeing that they're gonna give it back to us, they keep it and then say, well, you'll have some of it back and we'll call it aid, and it's really our money. We're supposed to be getting it, you don't get it. So that was a frustrating aspect to that. On the happier side, the non-frustrating aspect, the parade was outstanding on Sunday, and I have to say, kudos to DPW. Not the parade, the parade was barely over. Literally over by 5 minutes, and the streets were already being cleaned. Everything, I was at the school, I left the school about 3 o'clock, right? The sidewalks were already clean, the street was already clean, and that was a really big crowd on Sunday. Anybody who went to the parade saw that. I noticed it when I was walking with the kids down the road. It was a really, really big crowd because it was so nice in the morning, so many people came out. I just have to say also on how proud I am of the students at Belmar Elementary School, the band and the cheerleaders. They did a great job. It's not an easy thing for 9 and 10-year-olds to stand around for an hour and then carry big giant drums and big heavy saxophones for a mile. They did a great job. Speaking of proud of students, this is the last thing I have to mention. A student that I taught at Belmar Elementary School, and I asked to help coach her when she was first getting started in the wrestling team, a girl named Bella Serrano, won the state championship at 111 pounds in the first ever New Jersey girls wrestling state tournament. She's an awesome wrestler. She's an awesome kid. She worked for our DPW a couple summers ago, right after she got out of the elementary school. Great kid, and I want to congratulate her. It was a great achievement. And I also want to thank her coach, Mike DeRouge, our own Mike DeRouge from the beach. He coaches the boys team here at Belmar Elementary School, and he was coaching the girls team down at Manasquan. He had 2 wrestlers in that tournament. One came in 6th, and Bella won the state championship. That's my report.
Thank you. Thank you. I also want to echo a little bit of what Council President Brennan said about DPW, the Police Department. It was our 46th parade. In between the parade committee, DPW doing an excellent job, Police Department doing an excellent job. It really came off with all the coordination this year. Really, it came off very nicely. And like Council President Brennan said, the minute that parade was over, those streets were being cleaned and everything opened right back up. So thank you guys. I attended the 125th anniversary of Hook and Ladder, which happened between last meeting and this meeting, which they put on a nice event at Hook and Ladder, and we congratulate them on 125 years of volunteering to keep our town safe. And the other thing I want to mention, the PBA had their Valor Awards, and we had 2 officers, Officer Larry Kelly and Officer Kevin Jones, receiving Valor Awards. And it's nice to see that we have 2 officers being recognized for all the hard work that they do. That concludes my report. So we'll go on to public session on any of the resolution items.
Joan Carlo, I should give mine down.
On my
Marcia,
down.
what is this Cranford Police Cooperative Pricing Agreement? Could you explain that a little bit?
That is a, go ahead.
It's a statewide conglomerate. We're going to buy in bulk items that we need here in Cranford. I think it's Cranford. It's the lead town who bids it out on behalf of everyone. We tell them what we need, and they bid it out for all of the towns that are involved in this conglomerate, and then we get a better price. I'm sorry?
What kind of items or
They're
things that?
usually police vehicles. They get the best price in the state on behalf if you buy in bulk. So it gives us more competitiveness for police vehicles and equipment.
Okay, thank you.
It's a cost saving.
Yeah. And it costs us nothing. I mean, Cranford does it, they do it at no cost to any of the other participants. if there were to be an out-of-pocket expense, we would pay our pro rata share.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, Steve Lemoyne, 403 C Street. Right, just a question on the Resolution 67. It's about the parking spaces.
Yes,
How many spaces are we dedicating in here?
I believe it's 9. It's in the marina, those straight head-on spaces.
Right? Is this in addition then to what's
Yes.
already there?
Yeah,
So
it's all along the, right along the bulkhead.
So it's
For
9
boat
more.
owners. 9 more, yeah, for the boat owners.
Okay, and what's the total for the voting? Does every slip get one?
No. First come, first served.
Okay, first come, first served.
We're trying to help them out, so we can get some more boats down the
Okay, okay, cool. Okay, I had a question about that cooperative also, and I think you answered that, or a good answer. Okay. The Resolution 74 talks about the Tourism Commission, right? What is actually the Tourism Commission? Does it cost the taxpayers any money?
No. What we're doing with that resolution, we're just, it was 5, and we're making it 7
All
members.
volunteers.
Okay, so
Yes.
volunteers.
It doesn't cost us anything.
Okay, good. And then the last resolution, with regards to it's 76, the Director of Public Works.
Yes.
Are we doing 3 years for a certain reason?
I think that was a standard.
4 years.
4 years.
Or
Yes.
4 years, right? Do we want to lock in for 4 years? Just because that's what we've done in the past? I think a lot of you were elected because we wanted to see things change, right?
Are you
And a
saying
change in attitude.
Are you saying
It's,
that?
to be
We've been
clear,
here 2 months. I hope you're seeing that.
to be clear with that contract, it's a 4-year contract, but it's an at-will, he's an at-will employee. So effectively, if he were to be released, which he could be released, without getting into all the details, he would end up paid for the period of time that is remaining or due to him for that contract year term. That's it. But
Okay.
he's going to be in that role.
I guess my point was that it just seems to lock us in for a period of time, right? Okay, at least at the end of the year or whatever you do, and that if we're looking at shared services and things like that, that, could be down the road, that to me, this sounded like something that, we might not want to enter into such a long deal.
Well, Mike Campbell's been doing a great job for us, so,
Oh, and I
we're
did-
going to continue that, and...
Yeah, and I'm not, the comment was not about the great job he does, and I agree. It's just that, I'd like to see shared services and things like that happen to lower the taxes. I'm just thinking about lowering taxes, right, and paying off the debt.
And to your point, though, we're locking in for 4 years, but correct me if I'm wrong, we're also locking in what we're paying for 4 years.
That's correct.
Yeah, and that's okay. I have no argument with that. It's just the time that I was concerned about in trying to make some changes here in town, right?
I hear you. We're looking into a lot of the sharing services now, so, and they'll be coming down the road. But we're just trying to get
Well,
organized.
I respect Mike for the job he does and everything. It's just,
Yeah.
I want to do the best for the town too, the taxpayers.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, April?
Motion to close the public session?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, on the consent agenda.
May I have a motion to approve the resolutions as listed on the consent agenda?
Madam Clerk, I have a question. We just pulled 75. I have one question on that, or I can just ask the question whether you prefer.
We can ask the question.
Okay. I was just curious, we received the budget for the EBP for 2019, and I was curious how that compared to 2018's budget.
Well, I think this is just a resolution to open it up, but it is the same.
It's actually, my understanding, based on discussions with them, it actually dropped $5,000 from the previous year's budget.
Yeah,
No, I'm good.
You're-
I just was curious how it compared to 18, that was it.
The borough, the council's looking to approve this so that they can go to public session and that the budget can be presented to the public and have discussion at that time. So you're looking at it from a preliminary basis to make sure that it's okay with you.
This is the budget that the BBP is presented.
That's correct.
You have the right to vote on it after you hear from the public. I think it's in April, isn't it?
Right.
Is it
Yeah.
in April?
Yeah, this is just preliminary.
This is a preliminary form.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCartney?
Yes?
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next is second reading and public hearing of ordinance 2019-8. This is an ordinance amending the rental fee for the high school gazebo, and it's open for public hearing if anyone has a comment or question.
Come up to the microphone, state your name, if anybody's got a question about this. All right, see you.
Okay, a motion to close the public hearing?
Make that motion.
You have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Okay, Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Mayor Walsifer?
Yes.
Councilman McCartney?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes. Okay, now we're on to public session. Anybody have any comments? Bruce? Come on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a member of the Board of Directors with the Library Board, I just want to remind the general public that a week from this Thursday, we're having our Irish celebration at Taylor Pavilion, 5 o'clock. Refreshments are going to be provided by Jack's Tavern, and we're going to have a band, live music. So just as a reminder,
Mike? Oh, darn. I didn't bring you on the spot.
another member of our board.
Obviously, it's not Tom's man.
No, we didn't want to have a conflict of interest. But just as a reminder to the general public, on Thursday evening, the 14th, at Taylor Pavilion, we're having our Irish celebration, so.
What time is that?
I believe it's 5 o'clock, Mark.
Five.
I believe it's 5 o'clock. And I don't know, I didn't give my address, 407 9th Avenue, Belmar.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, Katrina.
Good evening, Katrina Klapsis, 1304 B Street. I'm actually here tonight with the Belmar Better Angels, the BBA. We had a meeting last night, and as some people may remember from back in October, the Belmar Better Angels presented the council with a presentation on our research that we found into our website. And we spent a lot of time researching towns in the area, what they were paying, what we were paying. And of course, the only two people that are remaining here are Tom and Mark. And we sent to all of you, including the VA, I think it was back in January, I was away, so this is when I did it, the presentation so that you guys would have it and have reference to it. We just wanted to let you guys know that we're very happy that, I don't know how poor Mr. Carvelli got roped into joining on doing more research and looking into the website, but we are happy at the Belmar Better Angels to see there's some movement on the research, and I believe Frank Sinelli is also involved in that. Tom has been very forthright and sharing whatever information he can. I understand that we all understand that there's things that cannot be talked about until they didn't know. And we would just like to encourage the council to maybe speak about that at meetings, because there's a lot of people in the town that are very interested in changes to our website, because we all know it's quite pathetic, excuse my French. So it's just really an encouragement from the Belmar Better Angels to please talk about it at meetings as you get information to share. Nobody's holding anybody's feet to the fire that it has to be done by a certain time or anything like that. We would just like you guys to, at public meetings, share that information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can speak to that. And, you know, I've been involved with taking a look at what we have now. And thank you, by the way, for the work that you did do, because I think, as I told you, that is where I would have started anyway. So I haven't reported on it in depth yet, just simply because I'm still in the discovery phase. We're talking to a number of different firms out there, engaging our current web designer, web hoster, and we have a number of meetings coming up that we're going to flesh out what it is that we want, what it is that they can provide, how much that will cost, how long it will take. So hopefully next meeting I will have some more detailed information to report on. So until then, I've just sort of been
Yes,
getting together.
we are researching companies, and that's why it really hasn't been reported on, because there is a lot of research going into it. Tom volunteered, which was nice. Frank's been working on it, but we are making progress on it, and we're interviewing companies and seeing what they can offer us and the different options that we have. So it's not really a lot to report until we have something concrete to bring out to the public. So we'll be doing that shortly, I'm sure. Anyone else? Yes, Jerry.
Jerry Patoka, 205 Second Avenue. I just have a question for Tom. Can they update the website while we're waiting for the new one? Because some of the old stuff is still on there.
Are you talking about like
The
the
present
events that are
website.
in from November?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And information for people to,
yeah. So that's so I have a meeting with our current web hoster tomorrow, and I'm going to get all the details about how all that works. As I understand it, we took on the updating ourselves, and I'm not sure who that person was at the time, but.
yeah, so we should take a look at us and update the things so we're aware of it, since we have to deal with that now.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, Town Council, great job on the parade to everybody. I just have a couple of questions. Really, they're more updates than they are anything else. At the last Town Council meeting, you said that you're in the process, or we are, in what's considered to be an emergency budget. I guess that's a state mandated term. When is the actual official budget come into play? And who's responsible for formulating that budget?
The CFO and our auditors. They go through and they'll have meetings with all the department heads first to see where all the departments are, and then they'll start formulating the budget. They're in the process of doing it right now.
And is
Because
there-
I think it has to be adopted with
We'll
June.
present probably the last meeting in March.
It should be, all towns should have it done by June 30th, so sometime the end of this, March, April's normally.
And does the council provide any game plan to the people that are responsible for formulating at least the preliminary budget in terms of, trying to reduce costs, so ultimately we can help out with the $30 million deficit and some of the other issues that we've had? Is there is there a game plan?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Is some of it have to do with the labor?
Some.
I hope so. And with all due
We look
respect,
at all the aspects.
I
of
think
it.
I'm friendly with 90% of the guys in DPW. But sometimes things just kind of boggle my mind. We had a storm on Sunday night. It was, nothing, it was rain. But the storm before that, we had salt trucks out, we had brine trucks out, we had really no accumulation whatsoever. And then what really kind of shocked me was when I saw snow plows out. Now, maybe because I'm used to my house up in upstate New York, and, the plows come out when it's 3 or 4 inches of snow on the ground. These guys were plowing slush. It was, I'm not exaggerating this whatsoever. And I wondered, and that's a part of the budgetary process, in my opinion. I know those guys are probably working a shift, but it also has to do with opportunity cost. I mean, if they weren't out there plowing slush, maybe they could have been doing something else, prepping for the parade or whatever. Other question I have is that the cleanup was magnificent, I gotta tell you. But what I noticed was that, you know, we had a lot of county assistants. You know, we got the street cleaners that came by, you know, they were, yeah, county, right?
2 of them were county, 1 was Madison.
Now, is that like something that's incorporated within our budget? Do we
don't
pay
pay
for
them.
that? Does the
That's
rate
called a
pay
shared
for that?
service. We don't pay them.
Oh, we don't, okay, so that's just,
They,
that's terrific, that's great.
Mike
Great
gets
work
them to
on it.
volunteer.
Just like all police services are all donated from the other towns.
Oh, they are.
We don't pay them either.
Oh, wow, that's terrific. And I tell you.
And if I could just answer your talk about the slush. You know, DPW, myself, the mayor, and Office of Emergency Management, we talk all the time about weather events. Safety is the key. And if you're sitting out there plowing slush, one of the reasons is because they're calling for freezing weather, that the temperature will drop under 32 degrees. If you don't get the slush off, it turns into ice. One fatality, somebody slips, somebody falls. Put a price on somebody getting injured. Okay, we take it very seriously. DPW, we're in constant contact. We're awake all night long based on what police officers tell us how bad the roads are. So we don't go out there foolishly just to go out there for people to make overtime or anything like that. People flex their hours, and once we know it's going to be deemed unsafe, we have to act. That's what we have to do. So if that makes you feel a little bit better, we don't just do it just to do it.
I'm not condemning what
Well,
happened.
listen, I just want to make sure when you make a comment about slush, I want to make sure that you understand why we push the slush off the road. Slush turns into ice.
Well, with all due respect, it rained the rest of the day, so there was no slush. There's ice in the curb line
They
anyway.
predicted freezing temperatures. Listen, I would love to be a weather forecaster. 50% of the time you'd be wrong and still have your job.
I know, I mean, de Blasio had a problem the other day in
Right,
the city.
so
I mean,
the
I-
bottom line is we have to go on best.
I'm not saying it to disrespect anyone or to be condescending to anyone. Like I opened it up by saying I have a deep admiration and support for the Department of Public Works. I'm just looking at it from a budgetary standpoint.
As we do.
When I see a town that's $30 million in debt, we got $600,000 that we lost on the Lake Como project. We got to put out money for the 10th Avenue Pavilion and for the 5th Avenue Pavilion. And it's just like, it seems to me like it's just, you know, all this money's just going.
Well, when it seems to you like that, that's why I want to give you an explanation. I owe you that. I owe you that explanation.
And it was a good explanation.
Thanks, sir.
Any updates on the pavilion projects?
As a matter of fact, we are meeting with everybody that's involved with 10th Avenue Pavilion tomorrow to see exactly what needs to be done. Our engineers, along with DPW, are taking a look at it, but our engineers, attorneys, everybody are gonna be down there, and we're figuring out exactly what we have to do to get that thing up and running for May 31st.
I know, maybe
Memorial
the-
Day weekend.
All right, maybe the attorney can enlighten me on this. You know, having done some multi-million-dollar projects in my day, my projects had to be bonded. Were these projects bonded?
I don't know that to be sure. I'm not sure.
My understanding is they were not.
Now, is that standard operating procedure for a municipality?
No. If in fact we're not bonded, that is not standard.
And an update on the Cuomo project. Have we gotten any feedback from the state on their assistance in that?
Well, we've got feedback from them. They've said, come out and let's talk. So we're going to arrange for a meeting, the mayor and the administrator. And we're going to go out there probably in about 2 weeks and sit down with them about the documents we provided to them. And hopefully they'll take a good look at them.
I think that the transparency that this town council has given is magnificent. You know, I'm just a little concerned about the follow-through and giving us, you know, we have a council meeting 2 weeks ago, and maybe it should be a part of the agenda, which gives like a little bit of an update, so you don't have a guy like me coming up and, you know, and asking you a whole bunch of questions, because I'm probably the last thing you need. And again, there's no disrespect, Mike, whatsoever, none. You know, You guys, you do a magnificent job. It's just that all I'm trying to do is keep Belmar affordable, that's all. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm on Fifth Avenue, by the way.
All right. Anyone else? In the back. There you go. That's it. I'm taking it.
That's okay. That's even worse.
You can hold it if you want, just take it right out of there. You got it?
Okay. Eileen Bede, I live at 210 10th Avenue. And the last time I was here was June. I came about my water meter. It hasn't worked. It'll be 3 years this summer. And I've spoken to a few people at Borough Hall. I think of Ms. Williams, I think. Spoken to Colleen Conley. I know she's not here anymore. You may have been here. Remembered, that one or two of you may have been here, remembered that. My meter hasn't worked, and when I called, they said, well, you have to purchase a new one. I said, well, we didn't do anything to it, and the ordinance reads that the borough provides the meter, and it remains the property of the borough, unless it's stolen, vandalized, or damaged. So I said, the only thing that's broken is the port where they stick whatever it is, instrument in to read it. The meter itself works, so if someone came to the house, they could read it. Of course, that's not reasonable. I don't expect someone to come to the house, every couple of months. So I tried a few more times. Last June, they said they would look into it. I never heard from anybody again. And so I finally, I was going to give up, and I called in September and said, have somebody come out. I'm just going to get a meter. It's, it's over 2 years. And then I got a phone call. I still have the message on my phone saying, oh, don't worry about it. You got a reading, the meter's fine. Well, I got another $77 bill, meaning just the minimum. So twice now I've had to pay bills over $1,200 when I finally go to town or somebody comes to the house. My point is that the meter is over 40 years old. I said, why can't you just have it repaired? They said it's obsolete. I don't think I should be penalized for that and have to pay $300 or $400 for a meter.
Did we speak on the phone the other day and you sent me an email?
No.
It wasn't you?
No, I didn't. I've been waiting for January, and this is the first meeting I was
Okay.
able to make. So no, I haven't called or anything.
After the meeting, I'll sit down with you?
Okay.
All right?
This is my last time, though. I'm not,
Listen, let me get all your information and we'll work on it.
okay. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Mayor and Council, Elaine Giordano, 605 9th Avenue, Belmar. I think many of you have received a letter from me recently. I did ask that I be able to read that letter, not here tonight, publicly to enter the public record. I would like to ask one thing about a couple of paragraphs I have in the letter, and it is about the pilots. With all of the concerns we have, real ones, about our taxes, I would ask you to please make public how many pilots we have entered into. How long are we entering into them? And how many are yet that have been approved or are near approval are we in the midst of for our future?
All the ones that have been approved or were before this council took place, so, we'll be looking at those very closely as any of them come before us going forward.
They fly stealth. I have done an awful lot of research about pilots. Almost all 50 states in the United States have pilots occurring, and very little is done to track them. And I hope we're not going to fall into that quagmire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, April.
Motion to close the public session and adjourn the meeting?
Before I make that motion, I left one thing out of my report, sorry. This weekend, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, the Belmar Elementary School Drama Club is presenting High School Musical. I'm helping with the rehearsals every afternoon, that's why I look like this. But it's great, it's only a couple of dollars, the kids look really cute, they're really working hard. So Friday night at 7, Saturday at 2, hope to see you there. I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.